It is not a passive asset class at all. It is the most cash flow heavy, in my opinion. I'm sure there are other places to make money, but from like a monthly cash flow standpoint, if you nail it, if you're elite, you can make very, very good money. But
Agreed.
It will cost you some gray hairs for sure.
Alrighty, folks, have you heard the news? Airbnb is officially dead. We're going to have this conversation with the one and only Rob from Robuilt. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Yes, Airbnb is dead. So I figured I'd break the news here today and just let the world know it's over. Get out of the asset class.
Well, it's funny. You did post a video a couple of weeks ago with Ryan Pineda saying rentals were dead. So I think it's only fair that now we just turn the tables and say Airbnb is dead.
That's right. We just got to do it with every single niche, like
there you go.
Storage is dead, development is dead, multifamily is dead. And, there will always be someone to watch.
There you go. Well, let's dig into Airbnb because, again, I think it is an asset class that had its day, had its time in the sun, which always brings out the, I'll call it the less disciplined, the easy money chasers, the fraudsters. And, because, again, I've been doing real estate for 20 years, so I've seen lots of cycles. I remember the day that I went to a real estate meetup as the boring one rental at a time guy, and there was an Airbnb host, Airbnb arbitrage, no less.
Oh, gosh.
And he was calling me a boomer. So there was a time when it was all the rage, and today, not so much. But let's break it down. Is Airbnb really dead, or is it just the fraudsters and the wannabes that are out of business?
It's a good question. Out of curiosity, do you have any Airbnbs? Have you ever had an Airbnb? Never.
Nope, never.
Okay. Good to know. Good context. Well, maybe I'll bring you to the dark side by the end of this. So, is Airbnb dead? I think it is as dead now as it's ever been. And I don't think there's really any new news here with the asset class. I think what you just said pretty much encapsulated what happened with Airbnb. And I took advantage of this myself. But for a long time, Airbnb was easy money. Like you could literally toss a mattress in an apartment, make thousands of dollars every single month. The golden years, I call them, because it really was easy. But it really didn't take that long for competition to come in. And I think that the moment any amount of competition began to come into the Airbnb world, people started losing money. So when people in 2025 say that Airbnb is dead, generally speaking, it's because they bought a bad property. They bought a property that was overpriced in 2023, 2024. They are just bad operators. They have terrible interior design. It's usually a mix of all of these. Or they bought in 2020 when interest rates were really low and they could basically throw a dart at a map and succeed. And then they continued to buy in 2022, 2023, 2024 with the exact same strategy of like, well, dang, I made a lot of money in 2020. Let's just keep this going. And I made so much money from this lucky purchase in 2020 that, I'm going to base all of my analysis on that one property, and I'm just going to buy a bunch. And even if I make a little less money, it's fine. And then they got hit by a train because competition is very real now. So yes, Airbnb is dead to the dabbling host. When I say dabbling host, I mean the host that is not taking it seriously. You have got to take Airbnb so seriously in 2025. If you do not, you will go out of business.
Yeah, this is what I love about this conversation because, I talk about a wealth journey being 3 steps, and step 2 is becoming elite at something. And again, I think you can become an elite STR or short-term renter operator, but it takes that focus and discipline, always executing interior design, buying it right location, just a constant, almost maniacal focus. And you can print money. The problem I had with short-term operators was the disrespect I was hearing back in 2021 and 22 because, it was easy money, throw a mattress, all the things you said. For sure. And I'm like, dude, I know how this party's going to end. You idiots are going to talk so much. More people is going to come in. There's going to be a greater supply. Pretty soon you're going to be, all of this, not to mention outside forces like cities changing the rules on you left, right, and center. And by the way, one of the things that I love, I talk to short-term operators. One of my weekly guests, Anna Kelly, she has, waterfront properties, for example, right? They're not really making any more of those. But I heard from people in 22, they were like, well, I can't afford waterfront. So I'm going to buy a mile inland across the freeway next to the railroad tracks because that's all my pocket can afford. And I'm like, do you really think that's going to work long term? I mean, you've got to have a buy box for where the short-term renters want to stay. Because if you're in the STR game, your client is going to say whether you win or lose, right?
Right. Yeah, and the train tracks aren't going to move anytime soon, right? So
they're always going to be noisy.
yeah, you have to be elite. You kind of mentioned fraudsters and all that good stuff. I think that's probably my biggest frustration. Generally speaking, I mean, I'm sure there are other content creators that fall in this bucket. I might be a little too honest about Airbnb. Like, if you go to my YouTube channel, my thumbnails are usually like bed bugs just infested my home, like my Airbnb hell week, everything that went wrong. I rarely am like, I'm on a boat and watch me live my life, on this yacht as I manage passively, like, because that's just not true. I mean, today's Sunday, yeah, it's Saturday night, my AC went out like on my property 2 minutes away, and I was like, I just got home from a 4-day trip setting up another Airbnb, and I just wanted to sit in my couch, and I'm like dealing with this. Yeah. I drove to the property myself. A lot of reasons for this, but I drove to the property to check on it. The guest canceled. It was just like a whole thing, and I lost $700 from this whole incident. So it is not a passive asset class at all. It is the most cash flow heavy, in my opinion. I'm sure there are other places to make money, but from like a monthly cash flow standpoint, if you nail it, if you're elite, you can make very, very good money. But
agreed,
it will cost you some gray hairs for sure. And I think that there was a lot of TikTokers and Instagram reelers that make it look very, very sexy. And hey, you're going to replace your 9-to-5 job with one Airbnb. And hey, you don't even have to own the property. All you have to do is sublease it from a landlord and then furnish it, and you'll make thousands of dollars a month. And what they don't teach people with the arbitrage method, this is usually the largest fraudster niche within real estate, but they don't teach it. It's not even real estate. It is just a business. It's an online job that you've created using someone else's real estate and helping them get their tax benefits and helping them get the appreciation and the depreciation and the debt pay down. The only thing you're doing is you're getting like 1/4 of those benefits with the cash flow. And so then people find themselves with 5 units, and then they scale it to 10, and then they realize it's hard and that they're only making $500 a piece. And then they go out of business. And I see all these videos on YouTube from all these, these youngins as a 35-year-old man. I see all these youngins that are like, I shut down my Airbnb business. Here's why. And then those videos go viral and everyone's like, see, I knew it. Airbnb is dead. And it's like, I mean, they were 22 years old and they didn't know what they were doing. So I don't know if them making that video about them shutting down their Airbnb business really is the evidence we need to prove that Airbnb is dead. Like, I don't know. It's a very frustrating place as an educator and as a content creator in this space.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into what's working today, but you're new to my audience, so I think it'd be remiss if we didn't step back and really get your resume in real estate. Yeah, where does your journey begin? Obviously, you were a part of Bigger Pockets there for a minute, but what is Rob's kind of resume of real estate? When does it begin?
Sure thing. So let's see. I started back in 2017. I was working a 9-to-5 job. I was in the world of advertising. So I was a copywriter. I wrote all the words that you see on ads for certain brands. So I worked for Gatorade. I worked for Hyundai, Old Smoky Moonshine, Sonic, and I wrote for a lot of their social media. So if you ever looked at the Hyundai Instagram account, I wrote those captions basically. I really quickly realized that making money at my 9-to-5 was a very tough thing because you can't really control how much money you make unless you're in sales. But if you're a 9-to-5 W-2 person, there's not really a lot you can do. All you can do is wait for your raise every year, 2, 3, or 4 when you get promoted, or you have to quit your job. You have to go somewhere else. And that's the only way you would get a real raise.
Yeah.
And
job transfer, for me, job hop. Yep.
Yes, exactly. And that's huge in the world of millennials, because my parents were always like, what are you doing? Work your job, stay there forever, But for me, I think like one of the realizations I had and kind of my approach to real estate is it's not really about replacing your 9-to-5 job. It is about making an extra $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And the things that $1,000 to $2,000 allow you to do That to me is what creates like freedom in your life. So like being able to go out to eat with your wife, being able to go to the restaurant and add chicken to your salad, right? Like that kind of stuff to me, I'm like, an extra $1,000 to $2,000 is a game changer. And so I was always doing these like side hustles, and I would go to like, I remember one time I went to like a Doritos focus group and they paid us $50. And so I was always like a hustler, you know, like
nice. Yeah, hustler for sure. Yeah.
I built furniture on Etsy for like a year or two, and I think I made $8,000 in a year doing that, and it's significant, right? Like for me. So like I was always just dabbling, and I remember we were living in Kansas City, and we were broke, but we had kind of like grown and decided, hey, let's move. This house that we had just purchased like 2 years before had appreciated $50,000-$60,000. And so we saw this opportunity to sell it, and we made $40,000. And we were like, oh my God, what do we do with this? Let's move to LA. It's so cheap there. So we moved to LA. We rented an apartment, and we just had done that for about 5 or 6 months. And, you know, there's just always this something deep in me was always like, I did not like paying landlords. And I was like, just something about like throwing away rent. And I know that in retrospect, I think it's fine to rent, but at that point, it just really bothered me.
Sure.
So I told my wife, let's buy a house. And she's like, are you crazy? Like, we can't afford it. And I was like, you're right, we cannot. But if we find something with like a little room or a little murder closet that we can rent out on Airbnb, maybe we can pay the mortgage. And that's kind of what ended up happening. So we buy a house with that little nest egg that we got from selling the previous house. And we use an FHA. So we put 3.5% down. It was about $624,000. And after credits and everything, we put $18,500 down on a house in Los Angeles. And we had this apartment that we were living in. And so my wife was like, well, what are we going to do with that? And the same thing, I was just like, you know, there's this website, you can rent your rooms to strangers on the internet and they'll pay you. Obviously it's Airbnb. And so we did what's called arbitrage, except back then it was called lying to the landlord.
Yeah, that's right. It's just flat out lying. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I did ask the property management girls at the desk. I was like, hey, does anyone do Airbnb here? And they were like, yeah, some people. And I was like, and you guys, that's fine. And they were like, oh yeah, we don't care.
Rent shows up, doesn't matter.
Yeah. And so I was like, good enough for me. In retrospect, now I realized they were making $15 an hour. They had no idea, right? This was before Airbnb was like super popular. So I think they didn't even know what they were like consenting to on behalf of their boss kind of thing.
Right.
But I arbitraged that unit, and I made, you know, $2,000 a month on it. And so that was kind of like a light bulb, you know. I'm like, how do I do this?
Proof of concept. Yeah. Proof of concept. All of us need that. Anytime you're getting into a new endeavor, it's that first one, what I call the proof of concept, that matters. So
for sure. Sense. Yeah. I mean, and I also didn't have the money to break the lease. You know, I made a lot of smart decisions. I bought a house, but I couldn't I didn't even have enough money to break the lease on this other property. But I was excited at the premise of Airbnb. And so I did that.
What year was this? What was the year you got the house in LA?
2017.
Oh, still 17. Okay, 17.
Yeah. This is all kind of like fast moving here. And so we get this arbitrage unit. It is actually making $1,000 to $2,000 a month. Like for real.
Makes sense.
The photos are rough. It was a bad property, dude. And it is like a property that I still show on my channel. I don't try to hide the come up. Like some people will go and, you know, like delete the first videos they ever made on their YouTube channel. I'm like, no. I want you guys to see where I started, where I am now. And that's how I am with Airbnb. I want people to see it. So I buy this house. I end up renting this studio underneath. It's like a 279 square foot space. I remodeled it first, sweat equity. I spent about a month remodeling it, and then I put that on Airbnb, and that was grossing $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Expenses were very, very low. So between that and then my arbitrage unit, my $4,400 mortgage was nixed, and I was just like, bam, no mortgage. I'm rich.
Well, what you just did there is the key to getting wealthy. If you could take your largest expense X taxes and take it to zero, you win.
For sure. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah.
Because for me, I didn't even see it as saving. Well, kind of. I was like, I'm making $50,000 a year, like extra. I would normally have to pay 50K in a
Well,
mortgage.
well, let's be very clear. You're actually making like 75 grand. You're netting 50 grand because that money is post-tax.
Oh, yes. Right, right, right. Yeah, that's right. And you have all the, I didn't know
All
about
the
taxes, and I
yeah,
now know, but like
yeah.
I was coming up pretty nicely on this. And
You were
so
ball. Yeah, I mean, A plus, A
thank you,
plus.
thank you. And I was
Yeah.
probably like at this time 28, something like that. So
28
um
living. Think about this, folks. 28 living for free in LA.
mhm,
Let's not forget LA, right? High cost of living area. This isn't like he's doing this
crazy.
in Timbuktu,
No,
right?
for
This
sure.
is living in LA for free. And what's the wife thinking now? What's the wife thinking that now that you've got shelter going at zero?
Oh, she's always been kind of like a here we go again kind of thing. But supportive,
Waiting for the next turn.
Yeah, because I always have ideas, right? I'm in advertising. My job was to pitch ideas, and so I was always like, "All right, babe, hear me
That's funny.
out.
Hear
We
me
can buy
out.
a house. We can live for free. I'm telling you, it's going to work." And she's like, "Well, I don't want to manage, and I don't want to do." I'm like, "I'm going to do it all. Don't worry."
Don't worry,
But
honey.
she's been a supporter. She indulges the crazy ideas, and it's worked out. But I mean, she wasn't like. You have to consider when we were still in that apartment and transitioning to the new house. I was going out. Dude, I would see dressers or couches on the side of the road, and I'd be like, "Babe, pull over, help me load this couch up into the Forester." We had like a little Subaru SUV. And she'd be like, "Oh my God." And so we would like put this stuff. And so for about a month as we were transitioning and still living in this apartment, literally like half of like the entire kitchen had all these boxes of furniture and all these like, I don't know, flea infested
She's a trooper.
She was. But like I think she understood like, I was like, hey, she really wanted to move to the West Coast, and I did too, but that was her like thing, her dream.
Okay.
I wanted to move to New York. The other crazy
advertising makes sense. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, but I was like, I think she saw that I was like, you want to do this, I want to do this too, but like you're passionate about the West Coast. I'm gonna make that happen, but we're gonna have to do some crazy things to make that happen. And she was like, okay, let's do it.
So again, I mean, this story is awesome because of all the self-made millionaires that I know, we all go through a season of sacrifice, and the sacrifice can be very different for everybody's sacrifice is different.
Yeah.
But this was clearly the beginning of your journey. You were on board together, which is awesome. You gave her what she wanted to the West Coast, and she got a little uncomfortable, right? She had people, visiting the bottom of the house for some time. So I love this story. So I assume some is good, more is better. You get to zero and you keep rolling the dice. Where do you go from there?
Yeah, I think I'm sure every rental like person, but every Airbnb person's like, I made $1,000. If I do this 10 times, like I'll be really rich.
It's all linear.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was like, 10 times, how do I do this? So I had the studio that's cranking. I decided I'm going to build a tiny house in my backyard.
Oh.
And didn't really realize the regulations in LA and California, like that. Some of that is true. Actually, a lot of that is true.
A lot of that is true.
Really quite horrible. But I still loved it. And, I wanted to build a tiny house, and I was like, quickly realized like there's a whole fanatical base with the tiny home movement. And so there's a lot of viral videos and a lot of content you can watch. But one of the things that I did, I'm trying to nerd out about Airbnb, about real estate. I'm listening to Bigger Pockets, and like, I'm realizing that a tiny house on wheels is cool, but it is a depreciating asset. It is a hunk of metal, a bunch of hunks of wood, and it loses value every single year. And so I was like, how can I make it to where the thing that I build and invest basically all my money into, how do I make it to where that is actually worth more over time? And so I realized I just had to go through the permitting process. I had to build it to a fixed foundation, and I just had to do it by the book. And so over the course of the next year and a half, I end up building a 404 square foot ADU, accessory dwelling unit, in my backyard, and learned a lot.
This is like 18, 19. What is this?
The year?
Yeah. What year were you?
Oh, yeah. Probably 2018 is kind of 2018, 2019 is where it starts to bleed.
And the reason I asked that is because I'm going to guess if you tried to do that today, it would be a little bit easier because California has gone pro ADU, but it wasn't. You were the oddball in 18, 19.
Dude, I may have been, I mean, I don't think I was the first, but like before that, there were only 400 and like, it was like 400 legal ADUs had been built in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's
Previous.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
okay.
for millions of people, for the third or second
Yeah.
largest city, right? And so it just goes to show you that the process did not exist. And so I was sort of like, they had just passed this like ADU law that made it easier. And I was the guinea pig. And I just remember, dude, I mean, like I was submitting plans and they gave me back the first round and just red lines everywhere. And then like, I wanted to cry. For real. Like I remember being like, I did not understand what they even wrote. And I'm like, I don't even know who to ask. I don't even know what to do, you know? And so I just closed up the blueprints and I went to bed. And then the next day I woke up and I was like, I'm going to read these again. And I read them again. And I was like, okay, actually, that's not as bad as I thought. We just have to adjust this. And, you know, like everything seems really scary when you get punched in the face for the first time. And that to me was like that big one where I was like, I will never financially recover from this. And because I'd spent so much money on the plans and engineering.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But I read it again and then I sent it to my draftsman and he goes, oh yeah, it's not a big deal. And I was like, okay, cool. So I kept pushing forward. I thought this tiny home would cost me $40,000 because my contractor basically told me it would, but he didn't want to have it written out. He's like, yeah, it'll cost 40. And I was like, really? Okay, well, shoot, let's do this. Let's do that. Then I took out a private loan for 40 grand to get it built. Obviously around, 30, 35,000. We're not even halfway through.
Yeah. I was going to say 40K, that's $100 a foot. Even in 18, that's pretty cheap.
Yeah. But Michael, it's a tiny home, you know?
Oh yeah. That makes a difference.
It's tiny. Which I didn't know that building a tiny house is the same cost as like, it's more expensive than regular homes because
for sure
you don't get to divide the square footage out. They don't make tiny electrical panels.
They don't. And plumbing is not tiny
or tiny foundations. Like it's all the same, right? So, so yeah, I get this private loan. I get to the point where they built basically the box with none of the finish outs, and I tell the crew who I love, I got to build a relationship with them, but I was basically like, love you, but you gots to go. Yeah, Dad's out of money. I got to finish this thing. And they were like, we're really sorry. I was like, it's not your fault. It's the contractor's fault. So I end up finishing out basically the house. I do like the final electrical, the final plumbing.
Wow.
I learned a lot. I had things blow up in my face and like literally and like, but $72,000 later, the tiny house was done. That's how much it cost me to build it. $72,000.
That's pretty good.
But I felt like I was onto something because everybody, like neighbors would take it. Neighbors I had never met before would walk in, like it's a far walk to get there. You have to walk through my back, like some stairs, go through my backyard. It's like probably a 30, 45 second walk to get there. And like dozens of neighbors would just do that. They would just take it upon themselves and they'd be like, oh my God, this is so cool. We've never seen anything.
It's like a unicorn.
This. Yeah, really. I mean, they were just so like ecstatic and they were like, it's so cute. It's beautiful. And it feels so spacious. And so I was like, I think I might have stumbled onto something. I think like people really like this. And so I decided to, to the cliff notes on that is I finish it, increases the value of my house massively. I do a cash out refi and I'm able to pay for all of that. Like I pay off the credit cards that I had gone into debt on, that private loan I got. And then I even had extra, and then I got a HELOC for $87,000. So like in general, like I was like, I'm a genius. Like I had no idea, that forced equity and ARVs were a thing, but good for you. I was like, oh my gosh, you increase the value. You can take a credit line on it. And that credit line is 3%. Like, how does that work? And it was just mind blowing. And so I decided, well, I got to do it again, obviously,
but of course,
in California, it's, there's not land in Los Angeles where you can do this. And so I was like, I had heard about Joshua Tree at that time.
Okay.
Before it kind of exploded and became a big thing. And so the reason I found it was because I was starting to get into like glamping and the idea of glamorous camping, launching those as Airbnb experiences. And I just saw this freaking dude in Joshua Tree had this teepee. It was like a $5,000 teepee, man. And like, I was looking at his calendar and he was booked for months. And I was just like, running the calcs on it, and it was like he was making $50,000 a year on this $5,000 thing. And the first one I had seen was in Joshua Tree, and I just, I get angry. Like I get really angry when I see someone making a lot of money, and then I'm like, but I could do that too. Like, why am I not making a lot of money? I just need to do what he's doing.
Yeah, how dumb am I? Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing with real estate is that there's been so many people that have done it the chances of every single real estate millionaire being smarter than me is statistically impossible.
Correct.
There's no way that I'm the dumbest real estate investor out there. And so I was like, so if other people could do it, I can too. So I kick off a build in Joshua Tree. This tiny house, I decided to go full contractor, do it right, do it by the book. I thought, oh, it'll probably be like a little bit more since I'm bringing in a real contractor. Well, ended up costing $165,000, so just over 2x what it cost me in LA. And at the same time, I had a couple of arbitrage units that I launched previous to that, and quickly realized that what I told you, like, I'm making good cash flow, but one of my landlords decided to just end the lease at the end of it. And I was like, wait, but I bought all this furniture. And he's like, I don't want to do it. And I was like, and they're like, yeah, we don't have a reason. We're just not going to renew your lease. Yeah. And I was like, whoa,
welcome to my job. Party.
Yeah, exactly. So I quickly realized arbitrage was just kind of one of those things that was like great cash flow, but very temporary business. And so I was like, I'm not going to do that anymore. So after 3, 1, 2, 3, I was out. So I built a tiny house. I built this Joshua Tree tiny home. And at the same time, the partners that I had on the arbitrage unit, we all still wanted to do stuff. We just didn't want arbitrage. And I was like, guys, you are not going to believe this. We could buy a $3,000 tent and put it in the middle of the desert. Hear me out. We're going to make a lot of money. And then they were like, oh my God, dude, no, are you kidding? And so I'm like, every month, I'm just like, guys, I'm telling you. And then finally my partners were like, all right, dude, buy the tent and never talk to us about this again. Just shut up. And I was like, great. And so we had that much in the bank account. We had about 10K from the arbitrage stuff. And so I bought a $3,000 tent. I put out a bunch of ads on Craigslist. I'm like, Grand Canyon, Joshua Tree, like Oregon, everywhere that I could think of that would be cool. And my title on the Craigslist ad was, do you have vacant land? I will pay you to put my tent on there. So I basically wrote this whole ad that's like, hey, if you've got if you've got land that was given to you or that you bought and you don't know what to do with, I'd like to put a yurt or a tiny home or a tent on it, and I'll pay you a percentage of the proceeds every single month. And dude, it's crazy. Like I got like 30 people that texted me within an hour, and I was like, okay, I think this is going to work. And the first person that texted me was actually the person that I struck the deal up with. Kind of funny how it worked out. And we met. I was like, I got to meet with you in person. My partners were like, we're not just going to put $10,000 of stuff on this guy's land. Sure. We need to meet him. So we have coffee and we work out a deal. And he's like, yeah, I actually live on site. I'll manage it for you. I'll do everything. Give me 25% of the proceeds. And we're like, okay, or he gave us 2 options. He said, you can give us $500 a month or 25% of the proceeds. And me and my partner looked at each other. We're like, we'll do 25%. And we left and we're like, dude, what a sucker, man. 25% is going to be like $200, but I was wrong. So we launch our first tent. This is like right before the pandemic. But like, dude, our tent, our little $3,000 tent, and you'll call it like $5,000-$6,000 of furnishings. They were ripping $5,000 a month. It was crazy. Yeah. And dude, people were like, we had a composting toilet, which is a Home Depot bucket in a wooden box. And it was very rustic. So obviously we were like, well, we got to do that again. So we bought another tent, and then we bought a massive tent. And that massive tent was doing like 10 grand a month. And then we bought an Airstream for 44,000 or for 33,000. And that Airstream was doing 44K a year. And so we had just kind of stumbled onto this little glamping business that was making us, like, in our mind, buku bucks, right? Sure. This is before much. Same kind of thing as arbitrage. I mean, it was kind of like, we're just doing the cash flow. There's no business, there's no enterprise business or business value here. Like, no one's going to ever pay us any amount of money for these ratty tents, but it was a lot of money. I think at its prime, 5, 5, 10. Yeah, we're probably doing like 25K a month. And we were paying the landlord, I guess 25% of that, which is like 7K. So he was doing great. Yeah. And yeah, dude, I mean, that was kind of like the first kind of, that was like the 1.0 of my business. And then from there, people were just like, we see you posting about this. We see you talking about it on Instagram. This is before Rob Built ever existed. This is just Rob Abasolo, my personal. Friends started reaching out and saying, like, it seems like you're really good at this. We'll invest in you. And so I partnered with people and basically built a whole portfolio using other people's money from that point.
Nice. Well, let's fast forward to today, because again, I think, where I want people to hear is, again, there's a way you can become elite at something. And again, you're talking about stumbling on glamping and that experience. But why don't you tell what does the business look like today? What's Rob focused on today?
Yeah, so today I am focused on selling all of my Airbnbs because it's dead. No, well, I am selling a lot of my Airbnbs, but I've spent the last year pruning the portfolio and selling anything that made me not enough money for my effort. So if something is making $1,000 a month, 1,500 even 500, anything that's kind of like in that $500 to $1,500 a month range, we sold. We bought a lot of stuff in 2020, 2021. I mean, very lucky time to buy. I'll be the first to say it. And it just had so much equity that I sold all that and basically moved that. I moved all of that into a new development that I've purchased. And so it's funny, people will read my YouTube titles and I'm selling everything, and like they won't even watch the video. They'll just go to the comments and be like, see, Rob's selling everything. He knows something we don't. Like, everybody sell. And I'm like, just watch the video. I explain exactly what I'm doing. And I believe that today I am living the true progression of a real short-term rental investor, which is you scale up a portfolio, you get all of these units, you realize that you can't really have a quality portfolio at 10 to 20 units, not the way that you want it. If you really care, if you're like me, if you really care about the quality of your portfolio, 20 houses that are individual businesses can only be like so good from a quality standpoint before you start kind of losing it, the franchise model, if you will. And so I was like, but I really love Airbnb and I do want to grow. I don't want to buy more single family homes. And so I decided to kind of pivot into when I say the true short-term rental progression, like, I hate to even say this because it's not really true, but like going into hotels, like true short-term rental operators become hoteliers eventually.
Interesting.
And that's not exactly what I'm doing, but basically I bought a commercial development that's like a landscape hotel in a sense, and it's 13 units. These are 13 units. These are comprised of 3 A-frames, 3 Scandinavian cabins, 3 geodomes, 3 Hobbit homes, and it's a total of 13. They are all 300 to 400 square feet. They are all listed on Airbnb. They are all listed on my direct booking website. They run as short-term rentals, but they are one team, one management team, one maintenance guy, one cleaner. Like, it's just one systematized development. It's just so much easier. Like, I cannot believe how much easier this business that makes significantly more than all the other things is. And it's because, yeah, basically I sold everything that I could. I still have like one thing for sale right now, and I took all that equity and used it as a down payment for this development. And now I'm living my dream. I got one more to sell. As soon as I sell that thing, dude, I'm a free man. I've got like all the problem children, or all the kids that make like $1,000 a month, they're gone. And now I've got this massive development where the progression, when I talk about like what short-term rental operators should strive for if they want, is going to a point where your development or your properties are valued on a commercial basis, and going into the cap rate world, right, where every dollar that I can increase the NOI by is worth 12.5 more dollars at an 8 cap. And so I'm motivated to figure out how to make more money with this portfolio, because the equity multiples are crazy on the sale price.
Yeah,
you can't do that with short-term rentals. If you have a short-term rental that you bought for $500,000 today, and you got it to make you $300,000 a year, that's not realistic, but let's say that you did that. A lot of short-term rental operators think it's making $300,000 a year, so I'm going to go sell it for $800,000 because it's a business. It's not. It is worth $500,000 if that's what you bought it for. Now, in a year or two, if all the neighbor comps go up and they go up to $600,000-700,000, that's what your house is worth. But no matter how much your short-term rental makes, it is not worth more than market value.
Correct.
That's where a lot of short-term rental investors do not realize that, in a sense, they're still kind of in this job where they can't really affect the valuation. They can add square footage, they can do forced equity, but you move into the commercial side, and I can offer a massage package to all 13. And if that massage package makes me an extra $20,000 a year in net operating income, then that is worth 240,000, something like that, $240,000 to the valuation of that property. So I'm playing that game right now, and that's where I am today. That's what matters to me.
Simplicity and return. It makes genius sense to me. And if I were to kind of summarize why you're winning today, it's because you've taken all the lessons over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, kind of customer service, managing, design, all of that. But now you're able to focus it acutely, kind of like a magnifying glass on one asset. And then you get all the efficiencies because all your cleaners are in one spot. The team is there. I'm curious, when you look at this asset that you have now, 13 units, is the next thing you go find another one of those, or does that location allow you to add a 14th and a 15th and a 16th? What's next?
Great question. Yeah, that one is a 20-acre parcel.
Oh, wow.
And so the 13 units are built on 5 of those acres.
Oh, so you got plenty of
yeah.
space.
We have another 10 units plumbed and electrical ran to that we bought it that way. So we can just add to it like that. And then we can go up to 46 on that property. So yeah, I could go buy other stuff and
No, why would you? Yeah. I mean, seriously, why? I mean, you're at 13. You've got, you can say you can go to 46. So that's another 33 units.
That's all I care about. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to say, why would you care about anything else? I mean,
like deal flow hits me, right? I get stuff sent to me,
of course.
Interesting opportunity. I've had a couple of really interesting opportunities come my way in the last 2 months since I closed on this property. And I've just been like, not interested. It's like really cool to feel like my buy box is not buying.
Why would you? I mean,
people send me stuff and they're like, hey, would you be interested? I'm like, no, I wouldn't, but I appreciate it, but I don't want it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It feels good. It feels good to exercise the old no button, as a real estate investor. Cause for so many years, dude, I mean, I did arbitrage. I built tiny homes. I did glamping. Like I bought in, basically 40 units all over the country in 8 different states. And like, as a long-term thing, I think that's fine. But as a short-term rental investor, when you have to hire a cleaner, handyman, pest control, pool guy, landscaper for every single thing, it gets kind of old. But yeah, I mean, for me, I've got like my 3 or 4 short-term rentals. Like I kept the golden children. So I've got 3 or 4 properties that are like, they make a lot of cash. And it's because I'm in this world of like Airbnb 2.0 where exceptional design is everything. And so I have like an interior design company. It's called Funkin Interiors. We focus on very bold, amenity driven properties. So I made the decision that anything that was not designed by Funkit, I'm selling, and anything that was designed, I'm keeping. Okay. And so basically I now have 4 Funkit properties that they all just, I mean, they make 4 or 5 times more what all the other ones did. So I'm like, I could sell those, and I'm thinking about selling a couple because I told you privately the other day, I'm thinking about just paying off my primary mortgage,
right? Because
I feel like I want to eat the fruits of my labor, and so I have a couple of properties that I might sell and chip down my mortgage, try to get it to 0, but they make so much money every month that I'm like, for me, it feels silly to kind of throw away like something that makes 5 or 10K a month. So I'm like, I kind of have to keep those. But at the same time, this development, those 13 units, like it's a total night and day difference even from those. And so I'm like, they're 300 or 400 square foot homes that do, $10,000 a month each.
Wow.
And so for me, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I should just do that. I think.
Yeah, I think you should just do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I should just focus literally on that because it's the only thing that matters. Because from a cash flow standpoint, that property is killing it. But like now that those other properties are plumbed and ready to go, I can continue to add very experienced, very unique properties. And so we're going to be adding more geodomes. I'm adding an Airstream out there that's going to be super luxury with like a outdoor glamping deck and a sauna and a cold plunge. Like whole thing, right? But like, dude, I did my whole real estate journey so cheaply. Like for as much as I did, we didn't have money. So I'm not going to say we were like the landlord special of short-term rentals, but we certainly weren't trying to spend money on everything, like we weren't trying to make everything 10 out of 10. We were just trying to get it launched and like prototyped out. And so I think I just built a whole portfolio like that. And for me, I'm just also very critical of myself. I've got the Rob Belt channel. I teach people how to do this. And so I'm helping other people grow based on my mistakes. And then everyone has better stuff than me, but I still kind of have, like, the cobbler's kids never get shoes, right? Like, yeah. So that's kind of how I felt. And so I don't know, like, I feel like I have the real opportunity with my new development to just, like, I have the money, I have the capital, I have the time to now make every single one extremely perfect, extremely unique, design forward. And that's what I want to do. And I'm so happy doing it too.
Nice. Well, I love people that are doing something that's elite. So again, we opened this show with Airbnb is dead. I think we can agree it's not, if you are a top 1% operator who's focused on it. If somebody was looking to get in today, what would you tell them they need to focus on to do Airbnb right?
Sure. So here's the deal. This is really important. I think a lot of people think that saturation is a bad thing. So, like, the whole thing you always hear is like, Airbnb is oversaturated. Which would lead someone to say there's more people, meaning there's less money because everyone's splitting the cash. What people don't understand is that data is saturation is basically data. Saturation is basically data that shows you, hey, here's what everyone in the market, you can go and find this on AirDNA, right? You can find literally every Airbnb that exists. You can find how much they're making. And sure, there might be 5,000 listings, but the cheat, or like the playbook, is you go look at the top 10 best performing Airbnbs in a city, and you can take their blueprint and use it to launch your Airbnb. So instead of being scared at let's say there's 5,000 listings, instead of getting scared at the 4,900, like, instead of getting scared at all 5,000, you take the top 10 and you're like, all right, I'm going to do that. And then the other people don't matter. Those are all the people losing money. So I think if you want to succeed, there's a couple things you have to do. You have to go in and look at and like kind properties. So go, if you're going to buy a 3-2, go look at other 3-2s, take the top 10, 20, 30, find out how much they're making, and then identify what about each one makes it successful. Why is this one making 190,000 when this one is making 140,000? That's a big spread.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, this one and the second best one is making 180. They both have pools. They have a pickleball court. They have a mountain view. They have a hot tub. And you can kind of list out every amenity. And there are some things that you just won't be able to do. Like, you won't be able to necessarily add a pool, or you can't add a mountain view. But you can extrapolate the data a little bit and figure out, okay, the top 5 all have hot tubs, and they all have theater arcades in the Smoky Mountains, for example. We have to do that if we want to remain competitive. So I think we're sort of past this, like, in 2025. I think the big movement, like when I started 2017 to, we'll call it 2023, 2024, the big kind of like aha was, oh, I just have to design it nicely. And so a lot of hosts did that, and there are a lot of nice looking Airbnbs. 2025 now is all about the experience that you give to someone when they stay at your Airbnb. And when I say experience, I mean amenities. And so good design doesn't cut it anymore. It helps, and it is the thing that will set you apart against someone else that has good design. But what's going to set you apart is the actual amenities. Why is someone going to choose your place over a hotel, right? Why is someone going to choose your place over someone else's place? And at the end of the day, that comes down to actually using your backyard. I can't tell you how many Airbnbs I see, houses that are beautiful, and then you open the backyard and it's just this giant patch of grass.
Yeah,
or dirt. Yeah, like that's how it was in Joshua Tree. I just had dirt in my backyard because it's a desert.
Yeah,
but like, if you have like there's like little things you can do. I have like literal above ground pools at my Airbnbs. A lot of people would be like, oh, I would never do that. But I build really nice luxury decks around them. They look like a real pool. They're just instead of costing 100,000, they cost 20. Sometimes less, could be more. Saunas, hot tubs, having arcade games at your property. It's just like, it's little things like that. We do mini golf at all of our properties. Like, I'm not talking like crazy setups, but you know, a $4,000 or $5,000 turfed area. I have pickleball courts. And so a lot of people hear me say that and they're like, oh, well, man, like, at what point do you stop? Is it an amenities arms race? Like, I don't want to get into it if that's the case. And I'm like, then don't.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's where we're at. Like, it is an elite place to be. If you want to make serious money it does take serious investment. And I'm not saying like you have to drop $200,000 on a backyard. I'm just saying like you can't just have grass in your backyard and expect to win. And I just see all these people, dude. Like I review more listings than anyone else on the internet. I look at thousands of listings every single year. When someone's like, "Will you look at my listing?" I can immediately tell you if it's a good one or not. Like I know. And I'm like, I know why you're struggling. A, you took cell phone photos, but B, like your backyard is empty. And like people don't want to just hang inside of an Airbnb. They want to sit outside. They want to hang out. They want to drink beers with their family. And there's nothing more uninspiring than like grass.
I like it. Well, somebody wanted to check out this community that you put up, the 13 units going to 46. How do they search for it? What does it have a name or what?
Yeah. You can go to astrya.com, ASTRYIA.com. And then on Instagram, it's Astrya Land, LAND. But go check it out. I mean, you know, I think if you're looking to get into the unique stay, experiential hospitality type of thing, that's a really good stepping stone of inspiration. I think it's something that anybody could do, because the seller that sold it to us had never done it before, but he did it in 3 years, and you know, he made a couple $1 million off of us. So
there you go.
Good for him. And now he's off. He doesn't even want to do it again. He's just like, yeah, I'm good. And I'm like, good.
I got my money
on you. You're retired. I love that for you.
And of course, your YouTube channel is
RawBuilt, ROBUILT. I talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. I'll tell you how it is. And I think one of the things that I try to keep true to my channel is the struggles that I struggle about. Like I just told you about the AC earlier, that will show up on my channel. Like it's no holds barred. Yeah, I told you on our podcast that's going to go on our channel. You know, I'd probably make more money as a coach if I wasn't honest about all the bad stuff that happens. But I do want to stop people from getting into Airbnb if they're not ready for it. And if they are ready for it, I want to help them be prepared for the storm that's going to come. But after the storm settles, it's a beautiful place to be. I really love the life that I've built, and I feel like I'm inching towards retirement, whatever that means to me. Not like true retirement, but pseudo retirement. And I have Airbnb to thank for it, for all the headaches and all the AC stuff and leaky toilets and on all that stuff. Like actual leaky toilet. I have a leaky toilet at my Smoky Mountain property that resulted in a $2,000 bill this month. So, you know, not all of it is fun, but it does make you stronger, and it's kind of spawned a lot of cool businesses too.
Nice. Rob, you're amazing, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep being authentic. Put it out there. Good, bad, the ugly. You are changing lives. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys.